Thank you for joining us on the Southwest Florida Business Podcast. I'm your host, Chris, and today I'm joined by Cassie Schultz and Kelly Reyes from Secure Staffing. Now, for small business owners that I talk to all over Southwest Florida, hiring the right people can be a nightmare. It takes a lot of time. You're reading through sometimes hundreds of resumes, and you really don't know where to start. And so I want you to pay attention, if you're in this boat, to how their expertise and their experience helps understand what you're looking for, the kind of questions that they'll ask you for this process, and how they can best place the perfect person in your company. So without further ado, please enjoy this episode with Cassie and Kelly from Secure Staffing. This episode is brought to you by Southwest Florida Podcast. We help businesses make marketing videos. Now, a lot of businesses see the value in video content, but they don't know where to start. Filming, editing, posting on social media, these can take up a lot of time and they can be pretty frustrating, and that's where we come in. We work with businesses to highlight the value they bring to their customers and share that online. Now, we've created the Marketing Manager's Guide to Video Content that you can download for free by following the link below or scanning the QR code on your screen. Now, enjoy the show. You guys ready to roll?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Cassie, Kelly, how are you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good.
I'm fantastic.
Thank you for joining me.
I had a Red Bull. Let's do this.
We're ready to go.
We are in it.
Yeah.
Woo.
We've been talking about doing this for a few months now.
Yes,
so
we have.
I'm excited to actually do this and put this out there. And I think the time is relevant because I know from the networking groups that we're in, you guys certainly know it from the business owners you talk to, everybody out there is struggling to find good people. And I know that that's something that you guys help with. So maybe let's start with what you guys do just from a high level, and then let's dig into this. If you guys can give us an update on what you're seeing from the business owners that you talk to, the challenges that they're facing, and then some of the ways that you guys are helping them out. But let's start with, what do you guys do?
Okay, so we are a staffing agency locally here in Fort Myers. We have a second location up in Illinois. One of the first things that we do is we listen to the business owners, which would be our clients. It is very important to understand what they're struggling with, where they're falling short, and how we can help them.
Okay, got it. And what are some of the things that you're seeing that they're struggling with, just in terms of finding good people and getting the right people in the door? I mean, what are some of the main reasons why they're having a tough time, especially down here in Southwest Florida?
Ooh, I got this.
Okay, take it away.
A lot of the stuff that I'm hearing is that they don't have time. They don't have time. A lot of the clients that we work with are owner operators, or they have a very small leadership team that they depend on, and they're trying to balance, pushing the revenue, pushing the production of whatever business they have going on, and finding good candidates and good help. And so, that's a big struggle that I hear is I don't have time. I can't look through all these resumes. I don't want to sit down for 10 interviews and then have to pick. I don't have time to do it.
Or they're not even showing up for the interviews, or they've spent,
wasting
a lot of time on searching for candidates, finding candidates, setting up the interviews. And then they get to that point and they're getting ghosted. And they're like, we could go through 20 applicants and we're lucky if 2 show up. It's very time consuming on that part, especially when you're working in your business as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you're now putting on like the hat of another kind of either half-time or full-time employee to do that search for you.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, interesting.
Fun fact, actually, it takes 100 man-hours to hire a new employee. So
what goes into that?
That's the time to market. That's the time to interview. That's, resume first, looking through the resumes first, time to interview, time to onboard, get the paperwork ready, make sure you're following the right paperwork, and then training the new employee as well. A lot of people don't take that in consideration whenever they're hiring new people too. You're putting more training hours into that, and that goes into that as well. That 100 hours right there, that's enough to pay a whole other employee.
Yeah. All right, so let's dig into some of the ways that you help them actually find these employees. What does that process look like for a business owner to come to you guys and say, hey, here's my business, here's the role that I'm looking for, at least here's what I think I'm looking for. What does it look like for them to start that process?
I think first and foremost, it's the actual introduction and meeting of the client. It's very important for us to understand what their company culture is. So then that way we can do our best to find the right fit for their company culture.
Okay. And what are some of the ways that you identify that?
Ooh, that's fun, actually. I like to just schedule some one-on-one time. I like to go to the client if I can find them in their environment where they're comfortable. They pour out a lot more. If they can show me what they're passionate about, I can see that. It's very easy for business owners to show you what they want. I ask them questions. What are your core values, if you have any? What's your mission? What's your vision? What are these things that you have? Do you have regular meetings? Do you not have regular meetings? Do you have training processes? Do you not? And, they don't have to have those things, but it helps me kind of identify how we're bringing in a new employee, what the expectations are. And if there's any other pain points, I can always put them in the right directions as well from there. But I really just ask them a lot of questions to get to know who they are. There's no wrong way. I just want to know what they're doing so I can put the right person to help them out.
Yeah. I think that is key. And I also think that with us having a good understanding, we know how to help them. For someone who doesn't have a huge admin staff, we know where we could help them to move forward with the employees. And that comes a lot with the recruitment and the employee management pieces. Sometimes it's just being that middle person and taking a step back. I know we've said it for a long time, but I want the clients to know that we are an extension to their team.
Okay.
We're not trying to change their cultures. We're not trying to change or tell them what to do. We want to mimic what they're doing and make sure we're conveying that information to the candidates so the candidates know exactly what they're stepping into. Mm-hmm. It helps them be engaged before they even get started.
Okay. So from that perspective, you can go in and pretty much by understanding the culture and where the leadership's going, you can better understand the needs that they have and also kind of screen for that in terms of the employees or the prospective candidates that you're talking to and say, okay, I know that they're competent here, here, and here, and like they're either upbeat and energetic, they're going to work here, or they're not that, but they're very like goal oriented. They're going to work better for this owner. Something along those lines?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And some clients, they already have specific roles filled. Some clients, they need a one person that can wear multiple hats. So it's really important to understand what the total need is for the position. So then that way we can help them move forward and convey that correct information to the candidate. There's nothing worse than information being like misconstrued. And then there is like the expectations are kind of jumbled. If we are able to have all this communicated, then when that person starts their first day, it alleviates a lot of misunderstandings.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. And when business owners go to do this on their own, what are some of the things that they miss? Like, well, I think we may have just touched on a sore subject.
Well, Chris, thank you for asking. I am so glad that you asked this piece. Some of the things that I've noticed that a lot of our clients have talked about that they want to, they're missing, for lack of better terms. That one right there is that whenever they are looking for their candidates, they're really just looking at the resume. So like, check. And because they don't have time to sit down and have those conversations and get to know them and get to know who they are. Whenever it is kind of like an art. We are playing matchmaker.
Okay.
We are trying to be, that boyfriend that whenever you can't figure out what you want for dinner, honey, I'm going to figure out, well, do you want Mexican food? No? Okay. Do you feel like a burger? I'm going to figure out all of those things for you so I can help guide you. You just wanted Chili's this whole time. That's exactly what you want. I'm going to take time to get to know who you are, get to know the candidates and the clients so we can make that perfect match. Because we don't want to have that turnover. Right. I don't want to cost my clients money. No. Nobody wants to waste part of that 100 hours in training. I don't want them to have to do that over and over again, because I know I've been there. I've done it. I've hired people, lost people, didn't take time to put the right match, the right person, right seat. And so I know how costly that can be. And so we're trying to eliminate that for you. We have recruiters that's literally their entire job, is to get to know all these candidates. And we have over 10,000 candidates in our system that they talk to, a lot of them often. So they get to know these people really well, so we can make that match.
Well, and it's a lot to sift through. I could just talk to a business owner today, and this was even somebody in Washington. I was like, yeah, you probably got 150 applications on LinkedIn. He's like, actually, in 3 days, I have 480. And I was like, wow, I had no idea. And so for a business owner to go through all of those and then try to get the right person based on something, that seems like a nightmare to me. So if you go through in your business and you hire somebody and you hire the wrong person, what does that actually cost you? What are the hidden costs of that?
$5,683. Actually, I don't know if that was the number. It just sounded really good. But really, what the question that I would ask you back is, how much of your time? How much do you value that time that you lost? Is really what I would say.
Well, and so what do you normally see? So I know you said it takes 100 hours to train somebody, but that's also 100 hours of your time. I'm assuming that would be 100 hours of cumulative other people in your business, plus those people are interacting with your customers most likely. All right, so just focusing on time-wise, how much time do you think that hiring the wrong person, let's say over the course of 3 months, how much time does that waste for you?
How much time does it waste? For
secure staffing?
No, just if you hire the wrong person.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great question.
It is.
That is a great question. I would say that every business is different, honestly, Chris. I don't know how to answer that one, honestly. But I know it's costly, though. And okay, so to put it in perspective, though, the person that they hire is a direct reflection onto their revenue. So it's not just costing them, the actual money put into the employee, whatever the dollar is amount that they put in hourly, whatever the hourly, time for that person to train them. It's not just that. It's just like you were talking about. It's the actual money that they were putting into that lead. What did they pay for that lead? Did they pay $60 for that lead? That could eventually have been a, $2,000 ticket. Did they lose that? Did they even, did they close that? So there's a lot of factors that go into how much money can be lost if they hire the wrong person. So that's a great question. And honestly, it really, it depends on the industry. I know we lean a lot towards trade industries. That's who we primarily, small business trade industries, but we can definitely hire for others, hospitality, support staff, entry-level, mid-management, that sort of thing. But it really just kind of depends on the industry is really what I would say. Great question, though.
I would say that.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so, I guess from there, what is all right, so you go in and you talk to these business owners, you get the culture, you get the feel, then what is it like from the candidate side of things? How does it look when they come to talk to you? Are they just saying, hey, I know you're a staffing agency, I'm looking for you to place me, or do they see an ad for an open position? What does that process look like for a candidate?
So on our side of it, once we know and we're recruiting for certain positions, we have resources outside of what the regular business owner would have. So we have relationships with an Indeed, with ZipRecruiter.
Okay.
So we're not just posting a position. We have actual larger accounts with them where we post multiple positions. That is one aspect for the recruitment side. The other side of it is resourcing. We have relationships with schools. We have relationships with different programs. We have different relationships with non-for-profits. We have relationships all the way across the board. It's really about the relationships. And I think that's how we became so good at matching the right individuals with the right positions. I know I'm going to kind of backtrack a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
But I think that it's important to understand there was a stigma with staffing.
How so?
It was kind of a use them and turn them and burn them situation.
Okay.
There was a lot of rotating. I come from the north, so it's a lot of manufacturing up there. And I think the stigma turned into you saw a whole time frame of people's resumes getting chopped because they weren't exactly spending one spot in one location for a length of time. They were getting rotated around because ultimately, from the staffing point of view, it was to keep them on payroll. So if they did their 90 days at one company and then they transferred them to another company to do another 90 days and then they could transfer them to another company, that employee never gets vested inside one place. I think that's a terrible stigma. I understand business-wise why it's done, but the longevity and reputation of a company is what's more important to me.
Got
so
it.
I feel that if I would rather have multiple clients where we nail it, get them the right employee, because then they're going to come back to us when they need that next employee. It's about building the relationships. And I know for secure staffing, that is something that we've worked really hard to change that direction. It's about building community. It's about building people. It's about building relationships.
Got it. So one of the issues that you were running into was just to keep recurring revenue coming into the staffing agencies. They would basically take somebody, put them in their pre-temp to perm zone and be like, oh, okay, nope. Well, we did find you another position, and then move them on. So over the course of maybe a year and a half, you can almost use the same person to continue your revenue coming in from multiple sources.
Correct.
And then, so that's where you get a break in people's resumes. You get a break in people's like continual experience being at a place for a long time. So they never actually go in, learn the skills, the in-depth aspects of what it takes to run that job. So then you kind of like can perpetually trap them in a state of being a temp employee.
Mm-hmm. And I think that it has really, when I say stigma with it, because I think it's a breakdown on both pieces. I think it's a breakdown for the clients because they've spent all this money in training and getting the right employee and having a good fit, to then all of a sudden they're getting moved to another industry, a whole nother client of said staffing agency. But on the employee side of it as well, there's a breakdown. When you're not connected, when you don't feel like you are vested into a company, then you're starting to break down. You're not giving it your 100. There is nothing really in the future locked in for you. So
what's the point?
Exactly. So you're just moving around and doing what you do, and it's a huge disconnect. And I think that that is a huge problem in the industry itself as of what was. I think moving forward, secure staffing isn't the only one that thinks this way, but I know when I set out and I built these relationships, that's what was important, is for myself and the staff to be upfront, above board. Like, let's do this to build people. It's, and the money will come. But we have to build people. We have to build community. And I can say for all of our long-lasting relationships with our clients, they're still our clients. We might not hear from them for 6 months, but when they have a staffing need, they're going to call us. So I just feel like that's the best practice to move forward. Okay,
so how do you actually execute on this different approach, right? Because this is a different approach than what you were talking about. So what are the primary ways that you are able to actually, like you said, give back to the community in that way, not make this just a perpetual temp situation? How do you make people more apt to buy into that company, to want to be a part of it, to actually learn the skills of that job and go on to be a permanent employee? Like, what are some of the ways that you guys do that?
I have led this company as you treat people the way you want to be treated. So when a person feels valued and when a person feels like you have their best intentions in place, they are 100% more engaged than just a number. And when you build that, I have built amazing relationships with candidates who were our employees or still are our employees. We have employees that are on our payroll that have been there since day one. And it's because we do a service of long-term temps, the employee management side of it. But they're not treated as a temp. They're treated as an employee. They get their earned holiday pay. They get their earned vacation time. They get, I didn't want it to be that quick turn and people are just numbers. I wanted them to be people. I wanted them to feel like people. We all deserve that.
Got it. And so what you're able to do in that case, so you're building this up in twofold. You've got the temp to perm aspect that you can give to other businesses of train somebody up, get them going in their business. But from your side, you have, this might be the wrong term, but like permanent temps where you have an employee that is with you, that's working, that's getting all these things, they're bought into what Secure is doing, but you're able to deploy them to like a mission for a month, 3, 6, 12 months. They're part of Secure, but they're going to accomplish that mission for your customer. And then once that's done, great. 6 months later, you'll get that call of, hey, well, we got another big customer and we need this data entry, or we got, okay.
Well, and I want to make sure that it's understood that some of our clients, we do their payroll service and management side for them. So when I say that we have employees that have been with us for so long, they've worked at one facility for just that long of a period. So I have employees that have worked at one facility since 2015. That's a long time. Yeah. But they have the benefits of an employee. They're just our employee. We have the relationship with the client. And for the client, it's a benefit for them because they have somebody else that's managing these employees. So they just have to give us a phone call, shoot us an email. We'll take care of the back end of it. Sometimes it's just about being that person in the middle who is able to mediate situations between supervisors, between like upper management, or vice versa, the other way around, from supervisors to the employee. Maybe it's a great employee, but they need coaching. They need help. They need that extra hand to become that great all-star employee.
Got it. And then that's where it's beneficial for you, just even in your own interest as a company, to take care of them, manage that, get them trained up on the things they need because, okay, so got it. That's interesting.
I think when you have the love of just wanting people to be better or giving people opportunity to be better, the rest of it comes easier.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and one of the things you were talking about last week when we were talking before this was the compliance piece and payroll and like workman's comp and everything. Can you guys dig into that aspect? Because that's something I didn't know about a staffing agency, was that you do take that stuff on. Can you give like a rundown of maybe some of the misconceptions that people have around this and what you take care of on this front?
Go ahead. Actually, I'll let you tell. Before you get into that part, though,
yeah,
I want to kind of just piggyback off what you guys were talking about, though, with what we do. I mean, Cassie explained it so well on the passion that we have to help these people and to make sure we're getting them, in a spot where they feel comfortable, and our actual, like, our recruiters and our passion to help people. What we don't do is just look at the resume, place them like a day-ready type of company. Because we take time to really invest into our candidates and get to know who they are, have those conversations, and really we want to find them something that's going to last them longer. Can we do that? Sure, we have the capacity to do that. For example, if somebody says, hey, I just need somebody for a 3-day project. I need 6 people right now. And they said they needed them tomorrow. I can do that for you, but just give me a couple of days. I can find those people because we really are taking time to getting to know who these people are. They're not just resumes. And that's something that our entire crew sees. They're more than just a resume. And so we want to make sure that we relay that to our clients and our customers. And if that's what our clients are looking for, we may not be the best fit for them either. We can do that, but we'd rather find you good people, permanent homes for these people, or jobs, careers. We rather connect that. Like I said, can we do it? Yes, but that's not our passion. Our passion is making that real connection. We're not that people ready type of situation. And I think that's something that a lot of companies think that we do as well. Like I said, it's possible, but we'd rather find, real connections and make that match there.
Yeah, it's a longer term relationship, and it's a longer term build. You're teaching people the skills. You're placing them in the right spot.
We're in it for the long haul. We're looking for the marriage. Okay. We're looking to join people. Maybe not that much of a commitment, but we're looking for that commitment with people. So, but
I think the clients respect that as well. They know that our intentions aren't to just send a body. It's really trying to help them move forward in the longevity of the employees, which goes back to like the high turnover rates and the employee engagements. And I think that by us taking that time, it bridges that gap right there. I want to kind of speak a little bit on what Kelly just said, like the short-term assignments, the 3 days, the 1 week, the projects. We're capable of doing those. It's not that we're not, and we have plenty of names in the database to do it, but it's going to be what it is. You just need a general laborer. We're going to send out a general laborer to you. I will say the benefit of those types of positions at times is you get to see the hunger of the candidate. I can say from past experience and short-term assignments like that, when you have somebody who doesn't ask a question, shows up, you have no problem, and they knock out that short-term assignment, you're going to think about them when you have a great opportunity that comes in, because you know that they're looking for that and deserve it. It's really easy for people to just say, there wasn't anything in for me. It's only a couple-day assignment.
Well, you're looking at it as a business owner on behalf of business owners.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's absolutely it.
Okay. Interesting.
My biggest thing is that you never convey information that's incorrect. Don't sell somebody a dream if you know what it is. If you know that assignment's only for a month long, then you communicate that with the candidate that it's only a month long. You give them that choice. Because how I've always gone into it in the past, and I've seen it work. I've been in this now for a while, and I've seen so many different scenarios. I always tell a candidate, okay, this assignment might be a month long, but you never know what can happen in that month. You might just wow them enough to where they create the position for you to keep you. It's very hard to find good employees sometimes. So when you speak encouragement into people, then they go into that job with their head held high, which then, once again, then you're a success on both sides, because then the client is happy because the candidate is coming to work and they're going to be engaged because they're kind of looking for that bigger opportunity, and they're getting paid over here. No one's time's wasted, and you've been honest. They know it's a month long. They know what to expect. But in that same token, when this assignment is over with, I'm going to work on placing you into the next assignment because the goal is to keep them working.
Got it. Is that something that this is a concept I never actually thought of from this perspective, right? But is that something that you talk to your candidates about? Is that mindset of, hey, like, look at this as if this was your job, like you're working for Secure Staffing, and I know technically you are, but I personally never would have thought of it that way. Is that a misconception that you kind of have to break in people's minds?
You have to encourage them.
Okay.
I think that in the staffing world, where we were talking about earlier, as far as the breakdown of the, moving them around to keep them on their payroll, brought a real misconception to employees that they just don't matter. I think if you're upfront, you're honest, you tell them exactly what the assignment is, they don't go into it blindly, they gain a trust with you that they didn't have before. They know that your intentions are right for them.
Yeah.
Just setting the right expectations, setting the agenda with them. And that's all they need is that communication.
Yeah.
That it's a lost art for whatever reason.
Well,
and that's all they needed.
That's a good point. Well, and so since 2015, since you started doing this, have you noticed, because everybody complains about it, every business owner complains, says people are lazy now and everything like that, all this stuff. I think to some extent it's probably true, and then I think to some extent it's probably a knowledge gap. But just curious, between 2015 and now, since you started this to now, are you seeing a big difference in the candidates, or are you seeing is this change that people are talking about, is it real? Is it misguided? Is it they're kind of right, but they're missing another point? Like, what's your feeling? Like, what's your gut feeling tell you?
It has changed. I think we all know that it has changed.
Mm-hmm.
I think the blame game is really easy, but I think it's deeper than that.
How so?
Well, statistically, since COVID, more people went out there and found other ways to make money. The way technology has gone, the way that our world is going, there is a lot of opportunity to make money in a lot of different ways, and maybe not the grunt work. Mm-hmm. But we need the grunt work in our communities, in our country. The grunt work is what keeps us grinding and keeps the whole economy going. So I think COVID kind of made us take a step back and really realize, like, there is basic supply chains that we need to keep moving forward. And I think that we had a front row seat to just how quickly it can get broke down. On the other hand, I think it taught employees that they want to be valued. They are now looking at different aspects that they might not have looked at 3 years ago, benefit packages. It is an employee's market now because there's so many open positions. And it's not just here in Southwest Florida. It is in Northern Illinois. It's in Southern Wisconsin. It's the East Coast to the West Coast. It's not just this area. It's across our whole country. I think that getting back to compassion and putting people first and learning company culture and what is important, the work-life balance, I think all of those are key factors. I think that especially down here, because it is such a small business owning community in this area, which I have to say I was very surprised at when I first moved here. I did not realize a number was given to me that really put it into a completely different perspective, that 84% of businesses in Southwest Florida are small business owned. I did not know that. I come from an area that was in large manufacturing. So that was a huge eye-opener. But as I've gotten to know business owners down here, the biggest thing is their time management. Mm-hmm. When it comes to the efforts that they have to put in and the finances to find, because everything costs, job boards cost, marketing costs. So I think that, like, just talking to them and seeing the challenges and the frustration, because at the end of the day, the work still has to get done. And when you're a small business owner or working in a smaller operations, when there's no one to turn to, you have to roll your sleeves up and get in there and grind it out because it's your business. So I just think that those were some very key eye-opening things that I learned. And for me, what was important is, how can secure staffing help? How can we make a difference for these businesses here? How can we help small business owners find the right candidates and keep them? Maybe even help them create company cultures that they might not have had before, or an understanding, or just through simple conversations of the importance of benefits, the importance of work-life balance. Because unfortunately, someone can go tomorrow and find a job somewhere else. Doesn't mean they're going to be happier. Doesn't even mean that they're making more money. It's just it's that much easier to get a job now than it was a few years ago.
Well, it's interesting what you just said about shaping the company culture, right? Because I don't think it's something that you really think about as a small business owner. I don't want to take anything away from anybody, but it is, a lot of times it ends up being lip service, or it's something that you put on your website or marketing, or we care the most about our customers, or but at the end of the day, if you're 1, 2, 3 people, like you said, you're busting your ass. You're working every angle that you can, trying to bring in money, and I don't think you think about that company culture. So is that a piece that you work with business owners to? Is it something that you deliberately try to work with business owners to get them to understand, or is it something that you can help them understand over the course of time by placing the right people and then letting them see the transformation that takes place?
I've definitely been a huge believer in, I'll move as quickly and efficiently as my business owners want me to. I will go at the client's pace with whatever they want. And all I can do, and I'm a huge feelings person, I really, really am, but all I can do is show them facts of what's going on. And if they're curious to know a little bit more on how to develop that culture, then we can go into that. However, I will move at whatever pace that our clients are wanting to move at. If they don't want to talk about it, okay, cool. I'm there to give you exactly what you need. I will, if that's not something that you want to dive into, if it's not important to you, that's okay. I'm not here to change your business. I'm just here to provide you with a service. However, if you want my opinion and we want to start diving into it, we will absolutely do that. I will guide you in the best way that I can. If you're not comfortable working with me, Cassie is wonderful at doing that as well, and vice versa. We're big believers knowing that everybody has different styles. I communicate differently than the way Cassie does. And, our recruiters may speak a little bit of a different people language than others. And there's so many different ways to communicate. There's so many different personalities, and matching those people is what we try to do, even whenever it comes to our clients too. So I will only move as fast as they want us to.
Got it. And that's what you meant earlier by we're not here to change your company, but we're here to move with you at the speed that you want, however you're looking to. Okay.
Yes.
So that's, I guess, where the experience really comes in of having done this plenty of times before, seeing what that trajectory is, seeing what that path is. And I know that you've been down here since what you said, mid 2021?
Yes.
Okay. And even you have longer relationships up in Illinois and things like that. What are some interesting transformations that you see take place, maybe over even that course of 3, 5, 6 years, however long it is? Like, what are some of the transformations that take place now that you can see with a longer arc of time that you probably, even as a business owner, wouldn't even think of because it's too far out? Like, what's something that you've seen?
From clients or candidates?
Let's start with clients, and then let's go back to candidates.
Okay, so from clients, I have seen a lot. It's hard as a business owner to let your guard down and let somebody else into your chaos. Like, let's be honest.
I love letting people into the chaos.
That's the best part.
Right. Like, let's be honest. Business can be messy and it's tiresome, and there's a lot of work that goes into it. And sometimes we stand proud, and it's very hard to let somebody in when we might know we need help, but letting that guard down it feels almost like a weakness. So
Yes.
I feel very proud that I've had the opportunity to work with so many clients that let their guards down, that were raw with me with what's really going on inside their facilities. Because once that happens, I'm able to communicate that with them. I'm able to help them, or at least give an outside perspective of maybe what can change. Because I am getting the information from the candidate side of what's important to them, what they're looking for, so it does help. I completely empathize with business owners. I know it's not easy. And especially when you're we talk about small business a lot, and small business is a big realm. So, we're not talking about mom and pop all the time. There's a big realm there. But most of the time people are so hands in working in their company that it's hard to see what's going on from the outside. So it's just giving them perspective. Like Kelly said, we don't ever want to change anybody's culture. You create your own culture. Every work environment is different. That's okay. But if we can see where tweaks could happen, or a better way to communicate, or keeping you in compliance, making sure you're communicating correctly, that's what we step in and we do. I've had such a pleasure working hand in hand with other business owners that I love it. I love being able to help where I can.
That's interesting because I don't want to share any of the flaws or any of those things. And that's actually a lesson I've been really learning a lot over the past just 2 weeks in itself of, I guess I can't actually do this all on my own. And that's a harsh realization in itself. But oddly enough, it's liberating because it's allowing me to see that I have possibilities beyond just what I previously thought, because when I was assuming that it had to be all me, there's only so many hours in a day, and there's only so many things that I'm willing or even competent enough to do, that this is making me step outside and take a step back from what I'm doing and reassess. And so it sounds like we need to have a conversation after this.
Yeah.
But no, that's
it's
an
hard to
interesting
be
part.
vulnerable. And that's what it does, is it makes you
think you're
vulnerable,
right.
because then you're like, or they're not going to look at me the same, like I have it all together. And what I've learned is none of us really do. We're just doing our best. And that's all you can do, is do your best. I have my own flaws. I've had my own path. I've had to learn how to trust. I have an amazing team. I have an absolute amazing team that we push each other to do better. And it's not just for secure staffing, but it's in our lives. I think when people are happy outside of their lives, it makes them even more happy within their workplace. So I love pouring into my team, but at the same token, they've also held my back up when I felt like I could fall. So it's key.
Yeah.
It's key. And to move the company to the next levels, that's what it takes.
You're chomping at the bit.
No, you are. This is great, actually. I love it. I love it. Whenever it comes to, opening up as a business owner, I've seen it a lot from the opposite side. More as just somebody, I love watching people. And whenever I can see somebody that's vulnerable enough to let their guard down and let somebody come in and just help them and guide them, it's an amazing experience. And it's amazing to see from the outside. And I think it shows so much as a leader whenever you're able to do that as well. Confident humility is really what it is. And whenever you get to that point, whenever you can feel that, you're ready to start growing your culture.
Yes.
You know what your ideas are in your head, and being able to be intentional as a leader, write it down, get some thoughts and ideas out, and start working on that. Like that's whenever you can start defining what that culture is. Who's your ideal partner to help you get through into that next step, that next level? What are some characteristics that you are projecting and that you want to build? And you start to build your team. I mean, you have great production crew right here. This is amazing.
I know.
And you've done really well with it, and I like it. And so you just start defining who those people are, and you start matching those people. We don't know what they're going to look like. Just like whenever you're looking for somebody that you're going to live the rest of your life with, you don't know what they look like.
Yeah.
But you know kind of the things that you value when you're looking for these people. You want somebody that's going to be, the person that listens, that rock, that can encourage you, that's going to be that good person. Well, at least, those are things that generally people think about. So you think about that when you're building your team too. It starts to become that integrity of work-life balance, whatever that is, whatever work-life balance really is. It's just making all of that start to match. Well, and, I think leaders do a great job of, projecting that.
Well, and the interesting part about what you said too is you don't know what that person's going to look like or what the skills are or what the role is. Does that happen pretty frequently where somebody comes to you and they say like, I need a admin, or I need like somebody for this role, and then they can describe to you what they're looking for, and then you're like, I know what you're looking for. It's not that. It's actually this. It's this, or that's actually two roles, and you need two people because what you're missing is this opportunity over here. Like, what kind of stuff like that happens? You guys are laughing. Does this happen pretty frequently?
I love these conversations, actually. These are my favorite conversations. Okay. Whenever somebody's like, oh, I need somebody that can, talk to people and create, beautiful customer relationships, but I also need them to be really, really good with numbers. I need them to do all my data entry. And it makes me laugh because that's two Very, very different personalities. And if you can find somebody that's really, really good at both of those, you have yourself a unicorn and you hold on to them forever.
And they're not going to be at the price point or salary range that you're thinking.
No, exactly. Right. And I've had conversations with clients about this. Are you familiar with the DISC profile?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm not going to say that I know all of the things about it, but I'm very, very familiar with it. There's when you find somebody that's really, really good with people and they love having conversations, they just flow really naturally, they make friends everywhere they go, whatever the case may be, you find yourself an I. And then you're like, no, but I need them to be very task oriented. I need them to know numbers. I need them to do this. I need them to organize my entire life because I can't do it to save my life. Well, those are two opposite ends of the spectrum. And it's hard to find somebody that can do that. You really do have to find two different positions. And talking to business owners and getting them to understand that portion of it, it's really easy once you put it down on paper, actually. And
it's funny that you just said that because that's exactly it. Who would have thought with the podcast, I like talking to people and I can have conversations with people, but the organization and data entry and all that stuff, not my forte.
Preach, sister.
Yeah.
I feel you.
I learned that. I even learned that internally. We did DISC assessments for the whole staff, and it helped me really understand my internal employees. I am definitely in the position I'm supposed to be in. I am a leader, and I am a visionary, and I am the one that keeps the boat going forward, But I have an amazing team and the right balance of employees with the other traits that are important. I would call, I reference it a lot, but it's the cross your T's, dot your I's. I'm not that person, but I have an amazing high volume of those. My recruiters, they're all those people those are their strong characteristics. So it was very interesting to learn those different traits about them because then it made it much easier for me to delegate differently.
Yeah, I was just going to say, do you feel almost a level of freedom once you understood that?
Trust is huge.
Yeah.
Trust in an organization is huge. And I've learned that. I've gone through processes and but it's just made it bigger and better internally and moving forward. I think that finding out your strengths within your team can make or break the situation. And once you identify those, then you give them the responsibilities and you have them move forward. And then they just report into you what they're doing. I'm not a micromanager. I want to build other leaders within our organization. So as long as we're all going in that same path, that's what's important.
And what do you use just from a leadership perspective? What are some of the tools that you use to actually organize that and understand what's going on within the company, what's going on with your team, like to either get a feel for the energy, the environment, the culture, but also numbers wise? Like, do you set up dashboards? Do you what are some of the ways that you actually keep track I'm not going to call you an unorganized person. I'll say for myself, I'm an unorganized person. So asking for a friend, how do you keep track of that?
Pretty much every platform has reports. So you can break down anything these days. I think it's being mindful. If I have one recruiter who is dealing with a company who doesn't submit resumes to, they just do placements, then they're going to have a higher placement than another recruiter working on a company who goes through an entire process of interview process.
Where you guys do our whole process for us and place versus somebody who's like, hey, find us the right people so they can go through our process. That's going to have an additional weeding out process or vetting
layers,
process.
Because a vetting process.
So
it's
you're going to have a lower
layers.
Placement percentage just off the bat because you have an additional. Okay.
And I think internally I've always really referenced team. No one is more important than the other. So then that way it's about us all working together. It's about servicing our clients, servicing our candidates. They're not numbers either. They're people. And then filling the positions the best that we can. We are living in a time where it's hard to fill positions right now. You know, I mean, we have the same, we face the same obstacles that these business owners, that these business owners are having. The difference is that is our job. So, you know, for the business owners, they have their own jobs. They just have to do this in their spare time to find, you know, employees. For us, this is our job. So we're able to measure it differently. We have analytics in place. You know, so yeah.
Got it. Okay. And that's something I'm working on myself, you know?
Have you ever read the book Traction?
No, but when I was at 239 Work, I did have it in my office as it was left over from somebody else.
It was a nice, you know, addition to a shelf. Is that what it was? And that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
I strongly.
Should I get it?
Yep.
Okay. Why?
I've used Traction with other businesses before. I've gone through the implementation myself. With the company locally here, and I've worked with clients across the United States about implementing it with them. And it's a guide to running your business. It's just kind of gives you the blueprint of it. And it's geared, I want to say, more towards I don't want to say Fortune 500 companies, but you can use it with any company.
You can scale it however you need to.
Exactly.
For your
whether it's just whether you're just a small owner-operator or whatever. It works so many different places. It's just as long as you have, you know, if you follow the guide. So it helps you define your mission, your vision, your core value. It helps you figure out who the right people for the right seat are. It helps you guide your meetings. You know, you start to decide what the issues are. You discuss them. You solve your issues. It goes through all of those things, and it lays it out for you and the reasons why and all of the great things that go along with it. And it's a lot easier if you have somebody to help you implement it. I mean, any time that you're trying to do something new, honestly, if you have somebody to discuss it with and kind of guide you with it and hey, you think we should do this? Let's try it. No, let's not try it. If you have somebody to do that with you, let's face it, it's so much easier. But some people can get through that process by themselves.
I think for me, Traction was a roadmap.
Okay.
I think as a business entrepreneur, especially visionary, we can see it. We'll grind in and we'll work hard to get there. But building that roadmap and what that looks like and putting the right tools in place, we might lose that, you and I. We're those individuals.
Yep.
You know, we just know how to work hard and we know what a vision looks like. So for myself, it helped me build the roadmap. And you don't have to be vulnerable with somebody else. I have it on Audible. I've listened to it more than once. I reference back to it more than once because I feel like you can never hear it too many times. And it just helps me. It helps me set those SMART goals. It helps me set those rocks. It helps me guide my team. It helps me in so many ways. I don't know how to explain it. I just know for myself, it's been a game changer.
Well, and it makes sense with the thing that you started off the conversation about how you go about working with business owners of what's your mission statement, vision statement, all those aspects that probably come from what goes into this so you can better understand, okay, where are you at now?
You now know my secrets.
That's it. Well, the interview's over. I'm going to start my own staffing company now. But
good luck. No, just
I'll need it. Just another thing to do.
Add that to the list.
But no, it's important to have some of these frameworks and be able to understand where you can guide people, because that's something when you have a small business, you don't know where the hell you're going. And a lot of times either people make it like this. I even kind of am guilty of that too with some of the content stuff. Like people do make it where it's, you just do this and it's really easy. And I think that was the flip side of COVID with the Great Resignation and everything like that, is people went out, started their own business. I certainly started my own business thinking that I knew everything, only to find out I didn't know what the hell I was talking about. And I got basically everything wrong.
Been there.
I even bought all the wrong equipment too to start.
Well, that's exciting.
It's the restocking fees weren't accepted. I can tell you that
Amazon
much.
return.
But just like having somebody to guide you is important, and that's something maybe I don't know if my story can help other smaller businesses who are struggling with this too. Is I just wasn't willing to give up that control or to be willing to talk about this stuff. Or
I'm going to give you a high five because it's hard. It's hard to give up the control because you're afraid that no one's going to love it the way you do. So they're not going to put in the same
effort, care.
Yeah, like, or they might not understand what you see. And it's hard to convey that information. But I do understand where you're coming from. I'm going to explain to you a little bit about Secure and even getting to Florida.
Okay.
So lessons learned. I've learned a lot of lessons. I've gone through some trials and tribulations, but it's made me much better today. I know that. And so the goal was to live in Florida. I've had family here for a long time. So I've been coming back and forth for many, many years. I lived here one time in 2012 for a short time and went back north. So I just knew I wanted to live here. The hard part was I had this amazing career up north with an amazing work family that I truly cared about. And I didn't know how to step away from that and start over down here. Not that I wasn't employable, I was. It was literally the opportunities that was hard for me to break.
Yeah.
So I was blessed. I was blessed with an opportunity to start a second location down here. Wasn't the easiest. I might not have done it the smartest way, but I just knew that this was the direction. I said a figure to you earlier that was eye-opening in one of the first meetings that I went to down here once I started networking. It was through the Fort Myers Chamber. It was a before breakfast meeting, and that's where that 84% of small business owners in Southwest Florida, and I have never forgot that. It was like, I am dealing with a different animal than I even anticipated. Because from the outside, it looks like there's a lot of big box, a lot of chain, a lot of from the outside. But then once you're here and you really learn the culture of Southwest Florida, it's primarily small business owners. And how Secure Staffing was going to fit into that and how to help this community, I had to figure out. I wasn't dealing with a lot of manufacturing. I wasn't dealing with a lot of, high volume staffing. This is different. But I never gave up. I know we have a place. I know that we are here to help, and I know what we stand for. So as long as you have those key elements, then you conform into what the need is in this area, and then you go with it. And
The mission doesn't change.
No.
Just a little bit of the plan.
It's just the plan. Yeah.
That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah. Your mission never changes. Your mission. Okay, let me put it this way. Actually, let me rephrase that. Your vision doesn't change. Your vision is infinite. Mm-hmm. Never change your vision. You just change your plan to get there. Mm-hmm. And that's all that Secure Staffing did. Mm-hmm.
Well, and it's hard to keep that vision in place when you go through and you hit the 150, 300, 500 roadblocks that pop up all the time, and the plan never goes according to plan.
It's just where you have heart.
Yeah.
And you keep pushing because your vision is there, and you know it can be successful, and you know what it takes, and you know that you have something to offer. And as I've gotten to learn a lot of business owners in this area, I have really learned we have something to offer. And a lot of these small businesses, they already outsource a lot. They third party a lot, whether it's for paychecks, whether it's for HR services, whether it's for, a lot bookkeeping. Like there's a lot of third party sourcing that they either source overseas or across the country. The difference for Secure is that we are your neighbor, we are local, we are here. So we're able to have that one-on-one. We're able to come to your facility and learn about you. We're able to communicate with you. We're able to manage the employees together. to build strong employees, that is something that you can't get from across the country. And when I say that we're an extension to your team, it's because that's your team. We're just going to conform and help you however we can.
Got it. Well, well, so as we kind of wrap this up, is there anything else that you guys want to touch on that we haven't covered that you think local business owners down here definitely need to know?
Yes, actually. Questions that I get asked a lot whenever I'm talking to different clients actually is how do we work? What are the expectations? And I kind of want to set that up for everybody here.
Sure.
One, we're very clear that we're going to get to know who you are. We're going to come in there. We're going to have some coffee, maybe some lunch, whatever the case may be, whatever you feel comfortable doing.
Do a podcast.
Yeah, we'll do a podcast together or whatever. You like to go out for wine, whatever. Whatever. I will meet you at whatever level you want to be. You want to go to church together? Cool. We can do that too. I don't care. We'll do that. Whatever it takes to get that comfortable with our client, we're going to do that. Next, what does the billing look like? And I want to talk about that. What does that look like? We keep it very simple. We work with what we call a billing rate. And the easiest way to describe it is it's a multiplier. Just like whenever you're getting ready to sell your business, and depending on the size of the business, profitability, et cetera, that determines what that multiplier is going to be. We work very similarly. And depending on what your workers' comp code is going to be, will help determine what our multiplier will be for you. And it can range anywhere from 1.4 up to 1.9 as our multiplier. We just call it a billing rate. And it seems to not very many, whatever the case may be, it's not getting translated correct. So I wanted to make sure that I can come on here and talk about that a little bit because I'm trying to work on getting better at that myself. And then what does it include? Because there's no other fees. This is all we go by is just our billing rate. What does it include? And Cassie, I'd love for you to share a little bit more because you can get into the nitty gritty with it.
So when we talk about the bill rate and what that is, the bill rate is going to cover all employee expenses. So when you think of an employee and you think of the price tag that comes along with having an employee, that bill rate covers all of that. So when you're talking about your HR services, your compliance, whether it's federal or state, we're also talking about work comp costs. We're talking about payroll and payroll taxes. We're talking about child support orders and maintaining employee files and unemployment insurances. Whatever you can think of that comes with an employee, that's what we cover with that. And then we're going to circle back to the big one, is your time. So yes, we're in business. Everybody's in business for a reason. But that number, you have to consider what your time is worth and the amount of time that you put in to try to recruit your own employees.
Pre-screening.
Paperwork. Yeah, all of it. And then on top of it, so now you're paying for that service in that bill rate for that time management and all the other things I just listed that we cover. And then you think about having an extension to your team to be able to keep you compliant, to be able to manage your employee files, to be able to have another soundboard to communicate to the employee itself. No one wants to talk about hygiene issues. No one wants to talk about disciplinary actions. No one wants to, but that's what we do. So all of those factors is what goes into that bill rate.
Got it. Okay.
I want to talk about disciplinary issues. I want to talk about it. I want to talk about the hygiene issues. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
Let's get into it.
I'll have those conversations for you any day.
Well, so it's
but those issues doesn't mean that they're bad employees. No, they're issues. Mm-hmm. They just have to be addressed.
Well, and if you don't know how to handle that stuff, you can make a bigger problem out of something.
But when you have a team that does know how to handle it because they've had to handle it before, We have handled a lot of situations for employers because they are our employees and we're part of their team. So, okay, so an employee has hygiene issues. Then we go to the store, we buy them a kit, we pull it together, we talk to them, let them know it's been an issue, and help them. You give them that gift basket of whether it's deodorant, soap, a little thing of laundry detergent, and just talk to them about basic hygiene. And I know to some that might sound trivial, but it can be real issues.
Some people just don't know.
Some people, they just don't. They don't. Not everybody has had the same upbringing. Some people just don't know.
And just kind of touching on that, it bringing it all back together about the compassion that we have for helping people and just trying to help whoever it is, whether it's the candidate or the client, get to that next level. It blows my mind on how much we assume that people are going to know something. Mm-hmm. I have come across candidates who just didn't know how to fill out the application. Mm-hmm. And it's because they were never taught. And not just young people right out of high school. And there's some people that, maybe just aren't from around here that don't know any better. Mm-hmm. But I will help guide you. My recruiters will help guide you just to help you get to the next spot. And whether it's a simple application or if it's something a little bit more complex, whether we're talking, trying to fill out, like I said, a simple application, or are we filling out a personality test? Mm-hmm. Do you not understand the word? Let's figure this out together. Mm-hmm. I will help you. And that's what it comes down to, is just making sure that we take that time. That's all in the billing rate. Taking that time to know these people and helping them and guiding them, mm-hmm. and figuring out what these real issues are with both sides of the spectrum, B2B, B2C.
I'm gonna give a prime example. So we had a candidate who was older, more at my age, and she had no self-confidence. She was almost embarrassed. She came to our office. She was seeking where she worked at, they had closed. And so she was now in a position and needing to find work. She had worked at this location since she was 18 years old. That's all she knew. It was fast food, but she had worked herself up into management, but she didn't see herself as a value. And it was really heartbreaking to watch this woman because clearly she was smart. She had a head on her shoulders. She was clearly a good employee. She had spent her entire life at one facility. She just needed the right people to advocate for her. And so when she sat in front of us and was like, she didn't feel worthy. And I was like, no, you stop. You have a lot to offer. Do you know how hard it is? Do you know how rare it is to find somebody who has spent 20 years at one employer, especially these days? Mm. You have something that you don't even know. You have a value to you that you don't even know. Mm-hmm. We spoke life into her. We helped her with her confidence. And then she was chosen for this company to interview. She couldn't believe it. She couldn't believe they would want to interview her. Well, yeah, it's because we're communicating to them what we see. And you're worth the interview. Mm-hmm. Not only did she blow the interview away, but she's still at that facility. This was at least 5 years ago. And those are the winning moments. Those are, and I'm not going to sit here and sell a dream even to clients. It's not easy to find good employees, but it's possible. Mm-hmm. You have to take the time and sift through. And so I'm not going to sell a dream to clients either. Like, yeah, we're in it. We know what you're facing. The difference is what we put into it to find you those good employees.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Nice. Well,
the good stuff.
The good stuff,
Let's bring it home right there.
Yeah.
So where can people find you? Where can they connect with you, whether it's a business owner or somebody looking for work down here or even up in Illinois? What's the best way for people to get in contact with you guys?
I would first say our website. It's securestaffing.net. We have a location here in Fort Myers, and then we have a location in South Beloit, Illinois. So we service Wisconsin, Illinois, and then the Florida area, as well as nationally. I mean, we have taken our recruiting to the next step. We do have clients that we're recruiting for across the country now.
Okay.
So that's a huge accomplishment for us. I'm very, very proud of the directions that we're going in. But okay, so so we're at 6710 Winkler Road, right at Winkler and Cypress in Fort Myers. And our other location is right off of Prairie Hill. It's a smaller area up there, but we're right outside of, we're actually right in the middle of Janesville and Rockford.
Okay.
So makes it easier. Our phone number is 239-299-0129.
Woo, holla back, young'un. Oh, sorry. That was my sign off.
Cool. And people can find you on LinkedIn too?
Absolutely.
Okay, and we'll include those links in the show notes and everything.
Do we say
Facebook.
at the bottom of the screen kind of thing?
No, we'll throw it in there.
Man. She's ready. I was really excited. I
All
thought
right,
that's
we're
what
going to
you
have
do
to
here.
redo this whole interview.
We're done. I'm cut off.
Well, guys, thank you for coming and doing
Thank
this.
you
I really
so much,
appreciate
Chris.
it.
I really appreciate
We almost
you.
forgot what's in the cup.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm just kidding.
I have to say this, though. I know
Okay.
this was for us, but I'm proud of you. I've watched you grow.
Thanks.
I've watched you. I tuned in for season 1, and I'm very proud to be a part of season 2 for you. But I have watched you grow, and that's a really good feeling. So I wanted to give you a shout out.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
You're
Great
welcome.
job, kid.
Thanks. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Have a good one. This episode is brought to you by Southwest Florida Podcast. We help businesses make marketing videos. Now, a lot of businesses see the value in video content, but they don't know where to start. Filming, editing, posting on social media, these can take up a lot of time and they can be pretty frustrating, and that's where we come in. We work with businesses to highlight the value they bring to their customers and share that online. Now, we've created the Marketing Manager's Guide to Video Content that you can download for free by following the link below or scanning the QR code on your screen.